New video, what's this? This is conquering the world using only slaves from Reggie, who recently I found. Right, yeah, what's this all about? Is it civilizations? Let's check it out together.
Before I was a YouTuber, I injected other people with drugs, but now I inject myself. Conquest of Elysium 5 is a turn-based strategy game
Hey, progression, people.
developed by two Swedish men
Down. They look like they will massive skeletons. This is the peak performance of what a male should be.
who are staking their entire reputation on the belief that peak web design occurred somewhere around 1994. In this game, you will choose one of various highly detailed factions and autistically read every page of the wiki until you stop losing to the Baron.
When you are building golems, I study the brain. When you are having pre-monster wilderness reverie, I mastered the longbow. Well, you wasted your days in the library of pursuit of magic. I cultivated moi and barley, and now the world is on fire, and the barbarians are summoning ancestor spirits at the gate. You have the audacity to come to me for trip, transstand. Absolutely. Yeah.
On turn 3. But no matter where you look on the wiki, you will not find anything about beating the game using an army of slaves, because it's a terrible idea. The humble slave sports a whelming attack of 1 to 4 damage, a mere 4 hit points, and such exciting abilities as level 1 spear, which makes it an interesting choice against enemy factions equipped with armies of animated weapons.
A living bow. A living bow. What is a living...
legions of the undead, and even God himself.
Oh my gosh, oh shit, Shiva. Oh damn, this crazy.
Fortunately, I have a foolproof strategy to help us overcome these challenges. But before we go any further, I have to tell you something. 6 years ago, I was committed to a maximum security mental hospital. Every single day, they would administer to me 37 Flintstones vitamins, 1 gang beating, and a 40-minute session of...
Wait a minute, I know where this is from. There's a lot of
CBT. They call this modern therapy. However, there's only one thing that silences the maelstrom of unspeakable thoughts rampaging through my broken mind, and that is Rise of Kingdoms, a free-to-play real-time strategy game. In this revolutionary gaming experience, you play as one of several historical leaders and expand your empire through military action and clever economic strategy. However, this is more than a game to me. This is my life. Just yesterday, I asked Attila the Hun what I should do about my noisy neighbors, and I followed his advice religiously. I recently started playing the game again, and you should too, because they've added a new civilization, the Mayans. This faction gets a massive gold buff, which will help it compete with its enemies such as the Romans and the Chinese. But that's not all. Returning players will get new
King Arthur! Yay!
commanders King Arthur, Lady Six, and 6 tavern heroes completely for free. If you've ever wanted to rewrite history where King Arthur starts the First World War and the Mayans turn France into a penal colony, now is your best chance. Use my link in the description to try Rise of Kingdoms today. Alright, let's start setting things up. We choose the Priest King faction because it offers the most robust slave economy.
Class society, king or high priest, everyone. Slaves. Wow, slaves are that high rank? Wait, those are nobles. It's all slaves. It's all
economy in the game. Then we set the map to large, add 9 random opponents, pray to God one of them isn't a necromancer, and begin the match. Our empire is born in the arid savannah, to the east of a giant stone golem and south of a pack of man-eating wolves. This is considered relatively safe by Conquest of Elysium
me with waifus
standards. Now, let's set some ground rules. This faction has access to a wide variety of recruitable units to build a diverse and well-balanced army. We are going to ignore all of that. Instead, we will only use slaves and units which interact with slaves, such as the Tribal King for hunting them down,
for hunting them down,
and the High Shamans, which are capable of sacrificing them in exchange for powerful reward.
Messiah, Prince of the Dead.
For example, we can sacrifice 25 slaves to summon a magical turkey. I am considering this acceptable. Now let's talk about the strategy. This is Kukstal, the Tribal King. If we take him to a populated city, we can use his ability Hunt for Slaves, which generates between 1 and 20 slaves each turn. Not only is this completely free, but the supply of available slaves appears to be infinite, meaning we can buy hundreds of Tribal Kings, set them up AFK farming in our base, and then build armies with thousands.
What the shit?
thousands of slaves each turn. Forget apartment rentals. This is the ultimate passive income. But right now it's just Puxtal.
That's
So we need to
illegal.
capture additional towns and villages to be able to afford more
There's no more
tribal
slaves.
kings. So
It's free slave estate. Wait, what?
I
You
gathered
can't
up some
say shit
slaves
like
and
that.
set out to expand our empire. But for some reason, the very universe itself seems to resist the development of our slave utopia. Because
Oh
the
my
first
gosh.
few times I tried to
Oh.
expand, I was promptly beaten to death by a gang of monkeys and
Monkeys? Literally, they... Your slaves to death? Bro, why so... Like, what can they hurt you? Only bananas. They only give you vitamins. How are you losing to monkey?
trampled by an elephant. However, on the third attempt, we finally had some luck. Overrunning the militia of this market village allowed us to set up an additional slave recruitment center.
Huh?
At this point, you may be wondering, is this really the entire plan? Just human wave tactics with kidnapped peasants? The
Yeah.
answer is yes, mostly. Our priest king also plays an important role because of his blessing abilities. In the middle of combat, he likes to
Oh.
throw bottles of holy water at his slaves and imbue them with powerful blessings. So instead of useless meat shield, they turn into useless meat shield +1 health. However, the fun thing is that we can sacrifice slaves to permanently upgrade our blessings. So
Meaning?
best case scenario, we wipe out 90% of our own population to turn the remaining 10% into super soldiers.
Oh my goodness! Ah! Hey, this is exactly the strat that I use in my WoWa, the TCG game, and all. You will sacrifice all the weak monsters, put into one Havoc Warrior, and it comes out looking like a buff Clark Kent.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves because someone's already invading our territory. After some investigating, we come across the Baron and his castle. This faction gets disgusting once their economy hits mid-game. Meanwhile, our economy peaked somewhere around 2 turns ago, so we need to eliminate the Baron as quickly as possible,
How are
which
you gonna do
means
that?
it's time for a slave sacrifice.
Oh, I like it has the check notebook. What's this? Oh guys, look, my daily plans. 8 a.m. breakfast. 30 minutes breakfast. Then slave sacrifice, slave sacrifice, slave sacrifice. 12:30, lunch with the cooktown. And then slave sacrifice, slave sacrifice, slave sacrifice, slave. Oh, it's time to...
Gentlemen,
Burn
look at
some
the man on your
slaves.
left and the man on your right. You will all die. Now, stand
Wow.
still. I used my priest king to sacrifice 50 slaves in exchange for a couple of jaguars and a floating cat. Not exactly the divine blessing I was hoping for, but either
Better
way,
than
we
nothing.
waited until the Baron
I would never sacrifice you guys. Look at me, look at me. Look at this face. I'm the Shogun of Light. I'm not the Shogun of Darkness. My tears gives you vitality, guys. The new perfume line is for slave owners. It's to raise vitality. Trust. Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to actually like the woody one starting more to totally get my perfume in the future. Okay, guys? Trust. It's definitely not some kind of marking that will allow me to track you down and mark you for death at all. Trust. It makes you smell good. It gives you bonus health. It gives you bonus luck. Okay? Trust. But what author does behind your back has nothing to do with you. Like, absolutely, we are two different people. Please understand. Two different people.
and we sieged it on the next turn. No matter how desperately my slaves clawed at the gates, they couldn't break through. However, we won anyway because the Baron's archers got so tired from massacring our slaves that they actually died of exhaustion. This is a
That's a
high-level
thing?
slave strategy and definitely not something I did by accident. Since it's still early game, this
Oh
was
my
the Baron's
God,
only
that's
castle,
brilliant.
and by capturing it, we eliminated his entire faction. 1 down, 8 more to go. And it looks like we found our next enemy. To the west, I spot something truly horrific. Another priest king. This pretender king is not only stealing my identity, he's also stealing my slaves. I know I said earlier
didn't know
that the
you could work
slave supply
yourself
was
to death,
infinite,
bro.
but
Clutch.
that's still not enough to convince me to share with this hack piece of garbage. So I head back to the capital to replenish
No. It's never enough.
our ranks. Now with 80 slaves, we push toward the false prophet. His first castle is defended by exactly 2 people. We attack
That's
it,
it?
and I stare at my screen in bewilderment as we lose 65 men in the process.
How the
Fortunately,
fuck?
we've got 5 tribal kings doing 24/7 slave hunting, so they're
Nice.
quickly replaced. Pushing deeper into enemy territory, I come across his Bastion of Darkness. After last siege, it became abundantly clear that if we attack this, we will die. So I sacrifice 125 slaves to the god of war. In
Whoa, Kratos come in hot.
exchange, he blesses us with a giant parrot. It may
Huh?
look like our god is just scrounging up these blessings from
What?
between his couch cushions, but the parrot is actually perfect.
Hey yo, what is this parrot? This parrot has 62 hit points. This parrot can drop a boulder on someone and it's a siege weapon. Excuse me? The description of this parrot, the great Macau, is a demon bird of gigantic proportions. So it's a giant-ass parrot. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Gifted with the blasphemous powers of the Teotal gods of Aslan, the beast has been sighted roaring high above the camps and cities of the priest kings, almost likely looking for the sick and wounded to feed upon. The demon bird has very good vision, and numerous faithful scouts have lost their lives when moving too close to Aslan encampments. What the heck is this? I'm the harbinger of destruction! Okay, yeah, Polly really wants all your crackers and that booty.
It has a siege ability which allows it to drop boulders on enemy defenders. So we
What
took
the
our army
shit?
and attacked the enemy capital city. The boulders weakened the gates enough for us to break through, at which point I realized the parrot also knows
The parrot is so huge, it takes up nine peasants. Oh my god.
level 2 fire magic, and he spent the entire fight immolating the terrified defenders. Very
Oh my
nice.
God.
So we captured the priest king's base,
Oh my
and I
God.
enslaved everyone. Men, women,
No.
children, cats, dogs. Here's some shackles, a spear, and a 37-second life expectancy. Have
What?
fun. Naturally, the enemy priest king Itzlakolekwe didn't take
Huh?
too kindly to this, and he brought back his main army to kill us. This was a big issue until he decided to attack a hydra, which ate
Well,
half of
why?
his units. Then we jumped the other half and stabbed them to death with 400 slave spearmen.
Oh, there's two birds
The
now.
loss of his main army and capital city spelled disaster for the imposter king, and 3 turns later his faction was extinct, thus giving us control of the entire bottom left corner of the map. To celebrate
Nice.
this monumental achievement, I decided to sacrifice 100 slaves to summon a Balaam. This
But a tiger? Oh, it's a leopard with 108 hit points. The Balaam is a myth perpetrated by the priest king to cow their subjects to believe that there are jaguars the size of elephants. The size of elephants? In the jungle is plain idiocy. The typical example of how the superstitious mind can be exploited by those in power.
is a jaguar the size of
What
an
the-
elephant. You can tell it's a jaguar because it has the exact same icon. The art
That's
budget
nice.
is truly in dire straits. On to the next target, the druid. You see this forest? You see how it's kind of extra green? That's
Yeah, I don't like
how
that.
you know you've got a druid infestation. These
Oh.
little weirdos will invade your ecosystem and start talking to all of the animals, and even some of the bugs too.
Giant centipede.
They'll
Ew.
radicalize them against you with their extremist ideas, and before you know it, you're being eaten alive by an army of rabbits.
Oh god, a demon rabbit was shown in Monty Python?
In fact, there's one of his sick little armies right now. We have to put an
Ew.
end to this before he forges alliances with the elephants. Heading south, we immediately come across the main druid stack, a centaur army fielding several boars, grizzly bears, and a few moose. As the battle started, his sick druid
Man, there's no way they're gonna win against our giant leopard,
The
right?
plans became clear. He's using mass sleep spells to roofie half
Oh
of my
shit!
army. And then he's deploying his moose as armor-piercing missiles and driving them straight through my front line to try to reach my
Oh.
casters. However, I've got
damn.
like half a kilometer of front line, so
Well, I think he has a
the
problem.
moose burnt up on entry. After that, we just worked our way through the petting zoo that was his army, lit his commander on fire, and pulled his neck apart
bye,
with
City.
jaguars. Now that's how you deal with a druid infestation. While we
Damn,
were stomping
oh.
on the druid's head, I couldn't help but notice a bunch of purple armies running around our territory. These belong
Hello?
to Tedbolt the demonologist, and he's
Oh.
teleporting them here using this magical gateway. His armies are full
Oh.
of ghouls, devils, lesser demons, and Tedbolt himself.
Oh shit, where is the Castlevania and Demon Hunters when you need it?
Now the satanic arts are one thing, but I do not take kindly to the elderly.
Hey dog?
Ted's
Ow!
gotta go. To accomplish this, I recruit a new priest and pray to the god of death. I was hoping the death god might just kill Ted in a motorcycle accident, but instead he provided us the tools to do it ourselves.
Which is?
By throwing hundreds of slaves in a volcano, we were awarded Bolan Tiku. He's a powerful spellcaster.
A spellcaster? Bolan Tiku are demons of the underworld called upon by the wicked priests of Aslan. Their origin is disputed, and while most scholars agree that Bolan Tiku probably are of infernal nature like the other summons of the Tiku demon gods, there are some sages who could make convincing arguments in favor of them being under the rule of Orcus, the Prince of Death. This could also mean that the priest kings and their subservient priests are not limited to conjuring infernal forces, but might be able to summon the death.
Caster with death magic. So I took him, 1,200 slaves, and this weird fish guy and attacked Ted in a tribal village. Now, I was prepared for the demonologist to know a few spells. However, I was not prepared for his dogs to be able to breathe fire. In a matter of minutes, the dogs alone had incinerated hundreds of slaves while suffering no casualties. I thought this wouldn't be a problem, because way in the back line, my fishman was spending the entire time summoning animated puddles of water. However,
What the
I
heck?
failed to account for the fact that the demonologist was not only killing my slaves, but he was also reanimating them into soulless corpses.
Oh shit! You use my spells against me, Potter. How
To
dare
attack me
you
with.
use
If
my
this
spells
fight was a
against
chess
me.
match, now would be the time we slam our head on the board as hard as humanly possible. But what
Yeah.
about Bol and Tiku, I hear you say? Oh, don't worry, they lit him on fire and beat him to death.
Oh,
So long story
no.
short, we lost 1,200 slaves in a single afternoon. Meanwhile, Ted went from 62 troops to 29. That's a
Okay,
36 to
okay.
1 casualty ratio.
Oh wow, yeah, that sounds like a major loss.
As if that wasn't bad enough,
Oh,
I took
shit.
my priest king and wandered
Necromancy gameplay is just basically solo leveling.
into the forest to clear
Oh,
my
fun.
mind. But instead of peaceful reflection, I found a druid waiting for me with a gang of radicalized
Oh,
caribou
no.
and venomous snakes. They wasted no time killing everyone I had, including the priest king. This was an all-time low for the slave empire. As I look around the map, I see several other factions thriving. The demonologist is taking all my territory, the druids are forming interspecies marriages at an
What the
alarming
heck?
rate, and the pale ones have a sizable army full of disgusting cave creatures.
Cave cows? Cave cows are stream being that feed on fungi, saliva corrosive, and suggested that the pale ones are created together with pale cows. Wow, that's some eldritch horror.
Why can't we succeed like this? Is it
I don't know. Well, I mean, if you look at your mountain of corpses, maybe if you start the necromancy.
this? Is it because I keep hurling my subjects to their death? Maybe it's the 99% illiteracy rate. No, it's because we're not trying hard enough. We need to sacrifice everybody. This has
What?
to be done. I recruit a priest of blood, then I use hundreds of slave sacrifices to ascend him to a high priest. From here, we offer 500 slaves to cast the
Summon God! What?
spell Summon God.
Happy Soul, the ultimate sacrifice of is to go into this world. This will cost him and hundreds of his life, slaves of their life. Different priests will summon different gods. The 10 gods are unique and 6 in number. The Tail of War, Tail of Night, wait. The king only cast on land location. Actually, God? What?
And from that, our priest king is transformed into the god of blood. This is an extremely powerful unit.
Oh my goodness. It's starting to look like an eldritch abomination. Awesome.
Yes, I am aware of the irony of doing a slave-only run and then summoning God, but just think of him like the Gestalt slave, a combination of thousands of slaves distilled into a single entity.
Oh, ew. True though. Very
He
true.
comes with a wide variety of abilities,
What the shit? There's so much nonsense. Wow.
such as the ability to summon an army of jaguars, breathe poisonous gas, and most notoriously, he can cause blood to rain from the sky. The primary use of blood rain is to terrify your enemies. The secondary use is nuking your bitrate and making your recording look like shit. You really thought this game couldn't get any less legible, but I will always find a way to disappoint you. Anyway, between God
Hell
and
yeah.
5,000 slaves, I think we're ready to make a comeback. Tedbolt is still busy ripping apart my dozens of slave armies, which means he wasn't able to stop us from entering this gateway, taking it back to his territory, and attacking his capital city with the God of Blood. The siege was flawless. The Rain of Blood ability hits the entire map and has a 50% chance to cause each enemy to flee. After 4 casts,
50%?
all
Oh
of
my
the defenders
goodness.
were running off the map, except for the archers, which were trapped inside this guard tower. But not to worry, they were subsequently devoured by snakes. After this, it was open season on Ted's kingdom. His primary armies were
Yeah, the Rain of Blood is such an OP ability. 50% chance of them just like evacuating for their lives.
still tied down,
Kinda
killing
broken,
slaves in
isn't
the
it?
desert while we slowly demolished his economy. By the time
Oh.
Ted did get back up to fight us, it was a bit too late, and he died a noble death of being covered in blood and having poison spit into
Oh my god! Tell about the demonologist eliminated. Last commander slain by original the priest
his
king.
eyes. Just terrific. That leaves the Pale Ones and the second Druid faction. Speaking of which, the Pale One has been going around the map starting forest fires,
What
which is
the
narratively
shit?
inconsequential, but I do enjoy knowing that somewhere in the world, the Druid is crying. I decide to seize this opportunity by tracking him down and
Somewhere in the world, my enemies are sobbing in the corner, looking at nature being devastated and their misery brings me joy.
and attacking him. If you're expecting his faction to have developed some new technology since the last time we met, you fundamentally misunderstand the limitations of the subhuman druid mind.
I still don't understand how this is possible. Should I check on my head? Oh, my head good. Yeah, still round.
Druids cannot comprehend anything above shitting in the woods and having sex with trees, which
I'm sorry, really? Is that a thing? Women are difficult to believe older for and common women can be seen doubling about the following. It is believed that women are what prevent boys from being too. I mean, if it's waifu then.
which is why over the past 60 turns, our armies have evolved from slaves to god, and their army is still just a handful of wild animals. It may then be unsurprising when I tell you that we absolutely slaughtered them in this combat. His centaurs went into a frenzy mode, which made them invulnerable to fear, but just about everything else was packing it up after the battlefield flooded with blood. Additionally, the blood god is giving my slaves regeneration, so
What? These slaves regenerate 1 HP. How's that possible?
So we're getting pretty crazy frontline value out of a bunch of random bums I found at the bus stop. After that victory, it was just a matter of tracking down the druid's final commanders, and before long, his faction was eliminated. This leaves us with just the Pale Ones, a race of subterranean mutants. Now, in preparation for fighting the Pale Ones, I thought it might be a good idea to capture the Capitolium from this neutral faction of barbarians. What I forgot was that the barbarians specialize in dark
Blood, right?
gypsy magic. This isn't the kind of stuff that kills you. It's the kind of stuff that makes you wish you were dead. So we won the battle, but in the process, the blood god had been permanently cursed about 7 times. He has 2 missing eyes, a chest wound, a debilitating wound, a never healing wound, low-grade PTSD,
What the fuck? But you're a god, right? How much damage did he do to
magic.
him? Oh,
This
shit.
isn't the kind of stuff that kills you. It's the kind of stuff that makes you wish you were dead. So we won the battle, but in the process, the blood god had been permanently
my
cursed
God.
about 7 times. He has 2 missing eyes,
2 missing eyes.
a chest wound,
Ow.
a debilitating wound, a
Ow.
never healing wound,
Ow.
low-grade PTSD, temporary insanity, and erectile dysfunction.
Wait, for reals?
The functional consequence of this is that God is now completely blind, pisses himself when fireworks go off, and sometimes he'll just go comatose and refuse to move for months at a time. Needless to say, I think it's time to worship a new deity. For this purpose, I chose
yeah.
to ingratiate myself with the god of war,
Ooh, a new god.
and also the god of the night. By
You have 2 different gods now?
this point, we had 50 tribal kings, and we were recruiting 1,000 slaves every few turns, so finding the sacrifices to summon them wasn't difficult. Obviously, both gods are immensely dangerous, but what's really exciting about them are these spells. Army of Darkness gives all of my slaves the ethereal trait, which makes them avoid 75% of physical attacks,
Yo, that sounds kind of broken.
while Army of the Sun gives them the awe status. Basically, my slaves become so magnificent that every attack against them has to pass a morale check, which is basically
Oh yeah, 75% chance. In D&D, normally, there's something called the dazzle thing. Dazzle is whenever you hit the opponent, you have to roll a dice. And the dice cannot be 5 or lower. If not, you miss because you are dazzled. But this is the opposite. You have to roll higher than a 15 to hit the opponent. My goodness, that is broken AF.
impossible when blood is raining from the sky and terrifying everyone. Essentially, the combination of these spells make our slaves demigods in
Essentially,
their
yeah.
own right, which is great
Yeah,
because
damn.
the Pale Ones have been ramping up their war
Oh
of
my
aggression,
gosh.
and they've even formed a navy. I'll be honest, I have a hard time believing that the Pale Ones know what a boat is, let
how
alone
the
how
hell
to
are they
sail
doing
one.
that?
But either way, we should probably kill them to be safe. As I was gearing up for this war, I received a notification
Ghost Mage, what?
telling me that Boneheart the Ghost Mage had started to construct a monument to Hades, which will draw all of the monsters from hell into this mortal plane. The game highly recommends stopping him, but I scanned around the map for 30 seconds and I didn't see anything, so I kind of forgot about it. Sure, it is a little weird that we've been getting attacked by ghosts these past few turns, but much like climate change, this is going to be a problem for future generations. Now, onto the Pale Ones. They have about 40%
Not my problem currently.
of the map under their control.
The United Republic of Slaves!
However, we're making
Yay!
10,000 slaves every 5 turns. In fact, we have so many that the game is struggling to even process the battles. So I just fanned everyone out and started picking off settlement after settlement until I found their main army. It had the usual
What the fuck? How much? So at certain point, the slaves have become way too
Trappings of
overpopulated.
Pale
We
One
have
filth,
overpopulation
cave
control.
cows, lots of fire, and some giant earth elementals. But they also branched out into necromantic rituals by mummifying their dead and reanimating them into cavern wights. Cool trick and all, but we have the literal army of God. Admittedly, the earth elementals lasted longer than I thought, and they were even tunneling all over the battlefield, crushing dozens of slaves at a time. But it just wasn't enough, and by the end, their army was in shambles. Now it's time to track down their subterranean hideout and finish this for good. I was prepared for—
It's over. It's not that they have the high ground. We have the highest
this search to
count of
take months,
slaves.
but it turns out their cave is just like 60 feet to the east of our border. So we let ourselves in and attacked their capital. The battle began with their catapults firing indiscriminately into my army. However, there aren't enough rocks in the world to kill this many slaves, and
God is flooding the entire screen.
even if there were, the rocks would have probably been more valuable anyway.
Me or this white rock right here? Be honest. Don't lie to me.
The rock, it serves the purpose.
The primary challenge with this siege was the very narrow 2-tile bottleneck around the gate. This meant we could only stab it with 2 slaves at a time. Additionally, the collective mass of thousands of rabid slaves pushing forward was actually forcing hundreds of my units into the enemy moat, at which point they would drown. It wasn't until one of my gods tunneled through a rock wall and
You can do that.
created a new entry point that we flooded into the hideout and captured his capital. That's all she wrote for the Pale Ones. Normally, this is where you'd get a victory screen. However, there's still one minor problem. That ghost mage from 20 turns ago, yeah, he actually finished building the monument to Hades, and now the map is swarming with 500 stacks of ghosts.
What?
Also, I want to get ahead of the allegations here. The sudden appearance of thousands of ghosts has absolutely nothing to do with me sacrificing thousands of slaves.
Oh my god. Well, is there the consequences of your own actions?
This implication is communist propaganda, and I'll have none of it. Anyway, the map is flooded with violent spirits. The funny thing is that our slaves are still winning, but the amount of ghosts appears to be doubling every few turns. So we need to find and destroy the source of this dark magic. The only section of the map we haven't explored yet is the northeast, so I sent a few armies in that direction. Before long, I came across Typhon the Wraith and 540 dispossessed spirits. I think we're on the right track. I rushed Typhon with about 500 slaves, but Wraiths are very good at 2 things, AoE and lifesteal, which are the exact 2 things you need to kill 300 slaves by yourself. Eventually, we broke his morale and he died from a panic attack. Passing further north, we worked our way through a few more ghost armies before finally finding it. Boneheart the Ghost Mage and the Monument of Hades. We attacked the fortress containing the monument, and there was no problem killing 90% of the defenders. But the Ghost Mage himself was terror routing most of my army and killing the rest of them. However, you know who he didn't
strong by himself?
kill? God. Teodal, the god of night, cast Lunar Brilliance and smokes Boneheart in the face for 5 damage, killing him on the spot. After the battle ended, we were awarded our victory screen and a lovely faction score graph, at which point I realized, holy shit, it was never even close.
Oh my god! After he decided to summon God, you can see the chart, like the stonks. See? This was a really low point, right? And then they started panicking, and then you summon God, and then whoop! Whoop, 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 whoop. This is the kind of graph that people who play stocks or do Bitcoin or any kind of like graph kind of financial nonsense would absolutely just come over. I get it.
Well, that's going to be it for this video. We set out to prove that the humble slave isn't so helpless after all.
Yeah.
In fact, in great enough numbers and with enough ritual sacrifice, it can become one of the strongest units in the game.
Exactly.
Thank you to this month's patrons, and finally, thank you for watching.
Thank you! Yay! It's always the weakest units can always turn out to be the strongest if you do it right. Slavery! Hell yeah! Please don't take that out of context. That was a fun video. Ta-da! Hello, Yui here. Thank you for enjoying my stuffies. If this video has brightened up your day or put a smile on your face, do consider to do the logarithm stuffies. That means liking, subscribing, and commenting in this YouTube video. If you wish to show me more love, do check out my Patreon. Every single support in there goes to making more content in this channel and paying my editor, Zaki, who's definitely not living in my basement. In turn, you'll get early previews, behind the scenes stuffies, but most importantly,
mainly cosplay culture, which I know a lot of you are into. I also stream Mondays to Thursdays in Twitch, 11 PM EDT. So come over and check me out sometime.